Hello, I'm Jane, and I'm going to give you a little tour around our Halvana Forest Shed, our little cabin in the woods. We're almost off grid, not completely. We have electricity, but we're quite mindful of how much electricity we use in here. So we have a gas boiler as well, which heats the water for the shower and for washing up. And we have a gas cooker and a gas grill rather than having a toaster. The water comes from a spring down in the meadow. It's then pumped up when it's called for, but via an electric pump up to our house. And then when the shed calls for it, it's then sent down to the shed and it's held in a storage tank up on the mezzanine. I didn't want it to be plasterboard walls, painted magnolia. I wanted it to be something really rustic, using recycled materials that we had knocking around or that we'd pass in a skip when we were out and about. It was really important to me that it had a rustic look. I could put my personality on it. Nothing was to be new. It was all to be resourced, recycled, upcycled, painted, knocked about and made into something else. So the walls, we've used lots of old corrugated tin, but again, I didn't want to go to a builder's merchant and buy brand new tin. I wanted it to be old with that patina on it, rusty, more rust the better. The windows came from an old warehouse on an industrial estate. They were replacing their windows. I found them on Facebook Marketplace. Ugly metal, but then I didn't want nasty white plastic PVC. So we've made them all look the same by just painting them all black. So that brings them all back, to uniform again. Then the wood walls, didn't want plasterboard painted magnolia walls. So that's all just old pallet wood that we've sourced. Family and friends would be looking for pallets on industrial estates when we were out and about. And then it just took hours and hours of breaking pallets. And I have sanded every single pallet on this wall with the help of my mum. My 80-year-old mother has helped me sand these. But what I like about them is that the texture, they're not perfect. It's like a patchwork. And then when they're stained with Danish oil, each piece of wood has come out a really slightly different colour. There's some grey tinges, some yellow tinges. I didn't want brand new modern wood. I didn't want the place to look like a sauna. The wood burner, we had this made by a chap in Totnes, bone meal stoves. We could have just gone on Marketplace and probably got one for 50 quid, but we wanted to support a local supplier. We do have underfloor heating, and I think it's laminate flooring, and in some ways I feel that perhaps that wasn't me and I would have preferred a wooden floor. But I think to be able to have the underfloor heating, we had to have laminate floor. And actually there's so much to look at around that you don't look at the floor, and it's quite nice to feel it underfoot. The bedroom area, we wanted to just keep it open planned. We have thought about putting a curtain across or some sort of room divider, but we quite like the thought of it being open planned. An old copper bed, some galvanised trunking, didn't want plastic, nasty plastic white trunking. From an access point of view, we needed to have it on the outside, so in case we ever had leaks, etc. So it's all, we had to invest a bit of money in that, to be honest. Whereas most things we've been able to save because it's recycled or we found it. There are some things I think you do need to spend some money on, and because the pipe works were going to be seen, we wanted them to look nice and old and rustic. Some would say these are ugly. I actually really like them. I love this. Well, from a practical point of view, it was put there to help strengthen. But actually, we picked off all of the bark. And again, look, I just want to stroke everything. This was all a tree from our garden that we lost in a storm, and we've been able to reuse it. Nothing arrived here on a lorry in bubble wrap. Everything has a story, and I love that. So the mezzanine was simply there to house a water storage tank. It had to be boxed in so we couldn't see it, just old pallet wood again. And I thought, well, if we're doing that, I know we haven't really got the height to add another floor as such, but I still felt that we could make it slightly bigger and just make it a space for loafing about. So now we have this perfect space full of cushions and an old floor bed and a little window out into the trees, and I call it the nest actually. The kitchen is the hub of my house. I styled that kitchen from scratch. It had to be open plan, rustic, not a fitted kitchen with cupboard doors. I wanted to be able to touch it, scrub it, feel it, and it wouldn't matter if you cut something on it. It's not precious, it's to be used. And just keep sanding it back and adding more oil to it. The only things that did come on a lorry in bubble wrap were a cooker and a fridge. But again, to cut back on the electric usage, we went for gas. So it's a gas oven, an old-fashioned eye level grill that Granny would have had. I like that, it makes it really quirky. to look out into the field, see the pony, see the forest beyond. I think the only downside is then when you're buying second-hand windows, okay, you have to have the foresight to think ahead that you need to buy the windows before you make the gap for the windows if you're going to go for second-hand. But then it's the curtains, because actually this isn't a standard off the peg curtain height. So I've just used old rustic coffee sacks from a car boot sale. In fact, some of them, if you go into the local coffee shops, they'll give you the sacks. So we've got a little bathroom through here. Again, everything is sourced from Facebook Marketplace, car boot sales. This was a piece of old worktop from our kitchen. We had a little bit left over. The basin was an old river boulder. Another second-hand window from Facebook Marketplace, but again, just to bring all the windows together, we painted them all black. Some more copper pipes, which I love. I just love them to look at, but from an access point of view, it means that we can easily get to them if we have a leak. Toilet was Facebook Marketplace. I wanted an old-fashioned one. Take a look in my shower. I didn't want an old white electric shower from Wix. It's all made of copper pipes. And then the rose is actually a watering can rose. Okay, shall I take her outside? So even the entrance was handmade by us from a tree that we lost in the storm in the back garden. This would have been the main entrance to the shed when it was a tractor shed owned by the Forestry Commission. So there were huge double doors here so that the machinery could come in and out and then access the lane into the forest. So this is why I wanted this to be quite a feature window. It was huge. We had to hire a van to get this window. An ugly metal one that I just painted black again. But then it actually then gives us that huge view over here of the fields and the cows, and actually on a nice day, that's viewed over there. Coming round here, I think this, we call it a lean-to. I don't really know what else to call it. It's not really a porch, is it? We call it a lean-to. But I am so glad we did this because it rains a lot in Cornwall. So it's perfect to be able to sit outside, wrapped up with blankets, an old cable reel as a table that I got. I think it was on an industrial estate again when I was out and about and I spotted it. And of course we own our view. And that's our pony. Yeah, it's actually got quite a decent sized plot. And this is where you do need to spend the money in the right places to safety. So you have to have a proper gas man in to install all of this. The hot water for the washing up, there's a little gas-fired boiler in there, so the hot water for the shower and cooker, actually, yeah. And then electric, obviously, got to get a man in to do that properly. That was expensive, the cable from the house to the barn. Here, I believe, is all the drainage. And that was already there, because don't forget, this was a restroom for the forest workers. So they already had a little loo here, so the drainage was already here. We haven't really changed anything. We used the same original frame. So this isn't our home, but absolutely, I would live in it in a heartbeat. My husband definitely would. It's big enough, I think, certainly for two. And it's just beautiful little cabin in the woods in the middle of nowhere. It's idyllic.